Hello guys, welcome back. I'm Yusufshakeel and you're watching ChartJS tutorial series. In this video, we are going to learn how to create a line graph using data from MySQL or MariaDB table, and on the server side, we are going to use PHP. So let's get started. In this tutorial, I'm using ChartJS version 2.x and I'm using MySQL database. You can use MariaDB as well. And PHP, I'm using version 5.6.25. The notes of this tutorial is present on my website dyclassroom.com. I'll give the link in the description, so please check that out. And I will post the tutorial code on my GitHub repository. The link will be in the description, so please check that out as well. Alright, the task. In this tutorial, we are going to create line graph for two teams, Team A and Team B. And the graph is going to show the score of 5 matches, namely match 1, match 2 till match 5. Now before we start writing code, we'll need a localhost development environment for PHP. If you're using Windows, then you'll need XAMPP, and if you're using macOS, then you will need MAMP. The link of both the software is given in the description. Now both MAMP and XAMPP will have PHP and MySQL. So it will give you a development environment and it will create a localhost server in your machine so that you can start writing your PHP code. Once you have MAMP or XAMPP installed in your machine, you will get a folder named htdocs. This is where you are going to put your project folder. In this case, we are going to place ChartJS 2 inside this htdocs folder. This is how our project structure will look like. We have the ChartJS 2 project folder. Inside it, we have the CSS folder, which will contain some style sheets, and we have JS folder containing jQuery and ChartJS JavaScript files. So I have opened up ChartJS 2 in Sublime Text. So we have the CSS folder containing a default.css file. Inside the JS folder, we have chartjs.min.js file and jQuery.min.js file. And we have some other JavaScript and HTML files from the previous videos. Alright, now we need to set up our backend. So the first thing we need to do is we need to create a match score table which will hold the team name, the match name, and the score of that team for that match. You can use this create table query to create the table, and then we have to insert the team name, match, and the score using this insert into table query. I have already created this match score table and I've inserted the data. So let me go ahead and show you this. So as you can see, we have Team A and Team B and their score for 5 matches. So match 1, match 2 till match 5 for Team A, then match 1, match 2 till match 5 for Team B and their respective scores. And now we'll create data.php file in our project folder ChartJS 2. So let me go back to Sublime Text, and inside the project folder ChartJS 2, I'll create a new folder and I'll call it API. Now inside this API folder, I'll create a new file and I'll save it as data.php. And I'll write the following PHP code. So in this line, we have set the header to application JSON. Then we have defined some constant like the DB host, which is 127.0.0.1, which is localhost. Then we have defined the constant DB username, which is root. and DB password, which is root123, and the database name MyDB. Then using MySQLi, we are creating the database connection, and then we have this select query, select team match name score from match score, order by match name. Then we are executing the query to get the result. Then in this line, using the for each, we loop through the result and we get the rows, and we insert each row in this data array. Then we free the associated memory with the result variable. Then we are closing the MySQLi connection, and then in the last line we are printing the data in JSON format. So save, and if we go back to our browser and make a call to localhost ChartJS 2/API/data.php, we'll get the following output. Let me zoom in. So you can see we get an array, and each element of this array is an object having some key value pairs. So we have team name, team A, match name set to match 1, score 10. Similarly, team B, match name match 1, score 20, and so on. Now it's time for us to work on the front end part. So go back to Sublime Text, and inside the ChartJS2 project folder, we are going to create a new file, and we'll save it as line-db-php.html. And inside the JS folder, we'll create another file, a new file, and we'll save this as line-db-php.js. This is where we are going to write the JavaScript that will create the line graph. Now inside the line-db-php.html file, we'll write the following HTML. So we have the doc type HTML, opening and closing HTML tag. Inside the head tag, we have set the title tag to ChartJS-line, and then we have included the style sheet, which is inside the CSS folder, default.css file. And inside the body tag, we have a div having class chart container, and inside this chart dash container, we have a canvas having id line-chart canvas. And then we are including the JavaScript files. So we have first included jQuery.min.js file, which is inside the JS folder, then chart.min.js file, which is also inside the JS folder, and finally line-db-php.js file, which is also inside the JS folder. Now we'll move inside this JS file and we'll write some JavaScript. So we'll start by writing $document.ready function, and inside this function we are going to call AJAX method of jQuery, which will take an object. So the first property that we are going to set for this object is URL, and its value will be equal to the URL that we want to call. In this case, we are going to call localhost/chartjs2/api/data.php. So we'll copy this URL and we'll paste it. The next property is type, which will set it to get. Now there are other methods as well, like get method, post, put, and delete method, etc. In this case, we are using the get method, so we'll set type to get. Next is the success, which is a function, and second property is error, which is also a function. So if a success occurs, any code inside this function will be executed, and if we get any error, then any code inside the error function will be executed. Inside this success function, let us console log the data. This data will store the response from this data.php file, and inside the error function, let us also console log this data, which will contain the response when an error occurs when we make a call to data.php file. Now save this file and go back to Chrome, and we'll open localhost /chartjs2/line-db-php.html file. We have not written any JavaScript to create the lines, so at this moment the page is empty. But if we open the developer tools and inside the console tab, we can see we are getting a response, which is an array having 10 elements. And if we open this array, we can see each element is an object having some key value pairs. So we can see we have match name, match 1, score 10, team A. Similarly, for this object, we have match name, match 1, score 20, team B, and so on. So now we are going to use this array response from the data.php file to create the line graph. So go back to Sublime Text. Now inside this success function, we are going to create a variable var score, which is an object, and we'll set the first property team A, and we'll set it as an empty array. Similarly, we'll create another property team B, and we'll also set it as an empty array. So we are going to then insert the score of team A in this property team A, and we are going to insert the score of team B in this property team B. Now we'll create another variable var length, and we'll set this to data.length. Now this data property is an array, so data.length will give us the number of elements inside this data array. Next, we are going to loop this data array. So we'll write for var I equal to 0, I smaller than len, I plus plus. Now we'll check if data I dot team is equal to team A. So if the ith element of the data array, which is an object, and if that object is having a property team whose value is team A, then we are going to write score dot team A dot push data I dot score. So if it is team A, then we are going to push the score of team A inside this team A array of this score object. Else if data I dot team is equal to team B, then we are going to write score dot team B dot push data I dot score. So if the ith element of data array, which is an object, is having a property team whose value is team B, then for that ith element of data array, which is an object, so for that object we'll push the score, which is of team B, in this team B property of the score object. Now we can write console.log score. So this object score will have two properties, team A and team B, and each of this property, team A and team B, will have the score of the 5 matches. So let's save this file and go back to Chrome, and if we reload and we open developer tools, we can see the first response and we can see the second console log, which is an object, and we can see it has two properties, team A and team B. Each property is having an array of 5 elements, and each element is the score for the 5 matches. Similarly for team B, we have 5 elements and each element is the score for team B. And now we'll get this canvas having ID line chart canvas. So we'll write var ctx equal to $# line dash chart canvas. Now to draw the line graph, we have to instantiate the chart class. So we'll write var chart equal to new chart. It takes 2 arguments. The first is ctx, the second is an object, and since we are creating a line graph, so we'll set type to line. Then we have the data property, which is an object, and options property, which is also an object, and we'll hit save. Now if we go back to the HTML file in the browser and reload, we can see we have an empty chart. So now we need to draw the line graph. Now we'll create a new variable var data, which is an object, and the first property of this object is labels, which is an array having 5 elements, which are the name of the match. So match 1, match 2 till match 5. Next property that we are going to set is datasets, which is also an array, and each element of this array is an object. Now we are going to create the first element of this datasets array, and this is for team A. So we'll set the first property label to team A score, The second property is data, which will set to score.team A. Next, we are going to set background color, and we'll set this to blue. Next, we are going to set border color, and we'll set this to light blue. Then we'll set fill to false, line tension to 0, and point radius to 5. Now we'll copy this first element and we'll paste it, and we are going to use this element object for team B. So we'll set label to team B score and data to score.team B, background color to green and border color to light green. Fill, line tension and point radius will remain the same. And now we'll set this data property to data. And now if we open this HTML file and reload, we get the line graph. And now we'll create another variable for this options property. So we'll write var options, which is also an object, and we'll create a title for this graph and we'll set the legend at the bottom. So we'll write title, which is an object, and we'll set display to true, position to top, text to line graph, font size to 18, font color to #333, and we'll set another property, legend, which is also an object, and we'll set display to true and position to bottom. And now we'll set this options property to options, save, go back to HTML file and reload. Now we have the title and the legend is at the bottom. Now if we change the score of team A for match 4 from 70 to, let's say, 20, then this graph will change. So we are going to set team A match 4 score 70 to score 20. Now if we go back to HTML and we reload, we get a new graph, and the score of team A for match 4 is now 20. And if we want to reset it to 70, we can go back to our database table, match score, and we can set this back to 70. And if we reload the page, we get the score of team A for match 4 equal to 70. Alright guys, this brings us to the end of this tutorial. I'll post this tutorial notes on my website dyclassroom.com. The link will be in the description, so please check that out. And the code that we are writing in this tutorial video, I'll put it in my GitHub repository. The link will be in the description. And if you think this video is interesting and helpful, then please give this video a like, and please subscribe my channel because I make new videos every week. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video, and like always, stay happy and keep smiling. Bye.